So Tron Ares is good. I think the issue a lot of people might have is the fact that I'm old enough to have seen Tron and Tron Legacy in the theater, and I've been a lover of this series since the beginning. It's always been a series that has always gotten very lackluster critical reviews, and then lackluster reviews from people who saw it, and then it develops this cult following with usually a small group of people feverishly defending it for years. I've been one of those people. So I loved Tron Legacy. But there's no doubt and no debate that these films are kind of flawed. They've always been flawed, even dealing with Tron Legacy's Gnosticism allegories, which I thought were a brilliant inclusion, but they were kind of half-baked and didn't properly convey the philosophical underpinnings of that series, of that movie. And I think Tron Ares plays on some ideas of AI that they could have built upon, but they just didn't have the gumshoe or the bravery with their writing to kind of deal with those subjects. Ares is a good movie. I would say it's in line with the other ones in the fact that the first half is really good and the last half is not as much. Especially the last third of Legacy. The last third of Legacy is very weak. The last third of Ares is very weak. I thought the first hour of Ares was fantastic. I feel a lot of people, especially online influencers, are giving very negative reviews to Tron Ares, and they're going after the parent company. Disney's had this franchise since the beginning, so it's not like they picked up a franchise and ruined it. I've never had a problem with their take. I mean, yes, the first two were always about underdogs facing corporations, and this one deals with two rival corporations. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of Jared Leto's history. But beyond that, I find the film still very entertaining. There is still an underdog, except the program is the underdog, not necessarily somebody going against the company. You still have that. It's just as Jared Leto rather than the human characters in the story who you think should be driving the plot, even though they have the arc as well. It's still Jared Leto's story, or his character Ares' story. The soundtrack is fantastic. I know some people are trying to compare it to Daft Punk. Yes, Daft Punk's soundtrack to Tron Legacy is legendary, and some people, for some reason, want to compare it beat for beat. It's the same reason why you wouldn't compare Daft Punk to Wendy Carlos's epic soundtrack to the first one. They are very, very different. It's, we're dealing with the fact that Nine Inch Nails is industrial, gothic industrial even, and Daft Punk is not in that same genre. It'd be like saying pop and heavy metal were the same genre because both of them have guitars and drums. It's a very different approach. Remember, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have an Oscar already. They know what they're doing. This is a brilliant soundtrack. I've been listening to it on this walk. I think it's a very entertaining movie. It doesn't have the legendary step forward visually, because you look at the 30-year gap between Tron Legacy and the original film, and then Legacy to this one, there's just not nearly as much of a gap. So the visual language doesn't have as much of an upgrade. I think Kaczynski is a better visual storyteller. Well, he's got a better visual eye. I don't think he's a very good writer because Oblivion isn't really a really well-written movie. So I think that this Ares lacks a unique visual language. It does grift a lot and glean a lot off of Tron Legacy in its presentation. But the callbacks are better. I talked about the fact in some of my YouTube videos about how I like Alien Romulus, but I really didn't like the callbacks. They were forced, they were artificial, they were groan-worthy. And in here, when the callbacks appear, they're organic, they make sense, and I love them when they happened. There is a fantastic callback in the last half, talking about the weak last half. This is not part of the weakness. That calls back to the first film in ways that Legacy didn't do, that I absolutely fell in love with. I kind of squealed when I saw it because I thought it was so awesome. And there are even some dialogue callbacks that I wasn't expecting. I thought was really touching. So in the end, yeah, Tron Ares is a good film, and I wish people will see it, but most likely this is going to be a repeat of what happened with Legacy and what happened with Tron. This film doesn't do very good, develops a cult following, and then we get another sequel, maybe 10 or 15 years. But I hope that doesn't happen. Also, I love the fact that it doesn't reboot Legacy. It acknowledges Legacy at the beginning and then references it at the end, without spoilers, not saying, but it references it in the end in a big way, to basically imply that if we had another film, it would combine story arcs from Legacy and Ares. But anyway, that's my review. Thank you for listening, and I guess like and subscribe.